Plains that morning, carrying dust and the smell of dry grass. Caleb Hart stood on the porch of his ranch house and watched the horizon like he had done every day for years, waiting for something he could never name. The land stretched wide and empty, the kind of emptiness that seeped into a man and made a home in his chest. He had cattle, a roof, water from a stubborn well, and hands rough enough to shape the world. What he did not have was a voice calling his name, or a reason to come inside before night fell. He had not planned to go to town that day. Town always reminded him of what he lacked. Laughter spilled from saloons, couples walked close, and children ran through the street with red faces and bare feet. Still, the supplies were low, and the old truck needed parts. So he went, riding the dirt road with the sun beating down and the past riding beside him. Caleb had grown up not far from there, raised by a father who spoke little and worked hard until his heart gave out one winter evening. His mother had died earlier, and after the burial there had been nothing left but silence. He learned early that loneliness could be survived if a man kept moving. He worked for other ranchers, slept in barns, saved what he could, and eventually bought this stretch of land that others said was cursed by poor soil and bad luck. He believed land chose its owner, not the other way around. This land felt like him. In town, he tied his horse and stepped into the general store. The bell rang, sharp and thin. That was when he heard raised voices outside, the kind that carried desperation. He stepped back onto the boardwalk and saw a small crowd near the far end of the street. A woman stood there, thin and pale, her hands folded over her belly in a way that told a story before words could. Beside her stood an older woman, her eyes hard, her mouth tight as a knot. The older woman spoke loudly, telling anyone who would listen that times were desperate, that mouths were too many, that choices had to be made. The younger woman said nothing. Her eyes stayed on the ground, her dark hair loose around her face. She looked native, though Caleb could not place the tribe. Her dress was worn and her shoes too big. A man laughed and made a cruel comment. Another shook his head and walked away. Caleb felt something tighten inside him. He had seen suffering before, but this felt different. This felt like a line being crossed. He asked the store owner what was happening. The man sighed and said the older woman was offering the girl to anyone who would take responsibility. He used the word sell and then looked away, ashamed. The girl was pregnant, and the father was gone, dead or disappeared. The mother said she could not feed another child or a grandchild. Caleb stood there longer than he meant to. He told himself to leave, to mind his own life. He had no place for trouble or sorrow beyond his own. Yet when the older woman began to cry and the younger woman finally lifted her face, their eyes met. In that brief moment, Caleb saw fear, but also something else. A quiet strength, bruised but not broken. He stepped forward before he could stop himself. His voice sounded strange to his own ears as he said he would take her. The words landed heavy in the air. The older woman studied him, measuring his clothes, his posture, the horse tied nearby. She named a price that made his stomach turn. He paid it anyway, every coin he had and some he had planned to use for supplies. The older woman left without looking back. The crowd drifted away, relieved to be free of the scene. The girl remained, standing too still. Caleb realized he did not know her name. He asked gently, and she told him it was Eliza. Her voice was soft, like wind through dry leaves. On the ride back to the ranch, they spoke little. Caleb rode ahead, aware of her presence behind him like a fragile promise. He did not touch her. He did not know how to explain what he had done or why.